Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's impromptu live session. I have a lot to talk about today, and we're going to talk about letting go into wealth. It's been a little while since I posted an actual video. It's been a couple weeks here. And for those of you who don't know, I had an immersion and I've been doing lots of just basically running my business. And so I haven't had the time to get on YouTube and post proper videos, but I'm going to do my best to start uploading more frequently. But in the meantime, today I was really inspired to talk about something that I think not a lot of people are talking about, not enough people are talking about in the business space, nor in the self development space, nor in the spirituality space. And all three of those things are kind of my passion. And so today I'm going to give you the tools to help you to let go into wealth. I'm going to take a minute to just welcome everybody who's joining and welcome to those of you who are watching the replay. Welcome, welcome. So let's jump into, I guess where I'm going to start is the old paradigm, the old way of doing things for at least for me and for most people up until this point has been to kind of push and push and push to get things to change. Taking lots of action in the world is really, really good. But eventually you have probably found that it comes to a dead end. If you're pushing and pushing and pushing to try to make something happen and you're taking lots of action, that can only take you so far before it just stops working. Also, there's a whole other side to quote unquote success, I guess we could call it, in wealth and prosperity and business success and success in the world, worldly success, whatever your definition of that might be, where you have an idea of where you want to get to, but you don't even know where to start. You're feeling really low. You're feeling really helpless. You're feeling maybe like out of tune. Maybe you're working at a job you really don't like it and you want to bust out of there and get some financial freedom and start your business. Maybe you're already starting your business and it's not quite getting traction yet, though you think you've tried everything. There's so many different ways that the resistance to what is manifests. And so my whole thesis today and what I'm offering you today is that when you let go, the way that I'm going to show you here today, when you let go energetically, you're then opening yourself up to receptivity. You're then opening yourself up to I don't like the word abundance, but I'm going to use it now. You're opening yourself up to abundance. You're opening yourself up to greater wealth and prosperity. Now, caveat here. I really don't like the airy-fairy pop culture manifestation as it's delivered today. I'm not a fan of it. So I am not talking about law of attraction manifestation, pop culture, law of attraction manifestation. I'm just not a fan. I'm talking about something very practical that most of us haven't learned before. And I had to learn it the hard way about 15 years ago when I got my first huge battle with autoimmune issues. And that's energetically letting go and releasing. I'm going to offer you some practical tools, some books, and some strategies. Why am I doing this now? First of all, I think we could take a look around at the landscape and just see that things are getting to a boiling point in the collective where we're all feeling kind of a lot of disharmony. We're feeling a lot of stress. We're feeling a lot of pressure. And there's a lot of people who are basically at their wits' end with whatever they were doing before. A lot of people are getting either laid off, they're sick of their job, they don't like the hustle and the grind, and they want to escape that old way of being. Yet it feels almost impossible to those who haven't had their own businesses or haven't had quite the amount of success in their businesses that they want to. It feels almost impossible. It feels like almost like a dream, like an impossible pipe dream to get there, right? But speaking from personal experience, it's not. And so letting go. Let's start with the more practical aspects of how do we let go and what exactly it is I'm talking about here, because I've been talking kind of around it, but let me take you right into it so we're not just talking around it. When you're trying to attain a level of success that's higher than what you're at now, when you're trying to attain a financial threshold that's higher than what you're used to earning, that means there's a couple things that you're going to have to let go of on a real practical level. So the first thing you're going to have to let go of is the way that you're seeing yourself, the way that you're relating to yourself, the way that you're being with yourself. See, this is why it's so practical and why I absolutely love business, because when you start a business, an online business, especially when you're going to be forward facing with your audience, you have to very quickly learn. You have to start seeing yourself in a different way than you're used to seeing yourself. So that means you have to let go of those old ways of seeing yourself. You might have previously seen yourself as kind of an introvert, right? Hello, I'm an introvert, by the way. Nice to meet you, fellow introvert. You might have seen yourself as somebody who's really scared of public speaking. You might have seen yourself as somebody who's not quite a creative mind kind of person. You might have seen yourself in all different kinds of ways that are kind of holding you back. When you start filming videos for YouTube, when you start filming videos for your blog, for maybe Instagram, if you like Instagram, you know how I feel about Instagram, most of you guys, but when you start filming yourself and putting yourself out there, you start coming to the realization you have to let go of that old way of seeing yourself. You have to let go of the old ideas of who and what you are. So that's on the very practical level. I'm going to just get my trusty notebook here and just draw a quick picture. So, in the yogic traditions, we call these kind of, there's something called koshas, and those koshas are like the kind of energy centers of our bodies. Not to get to, I'm not going to get too esoteric with this, stick with me, but on the very gross and on the very practical level, the way that you see yourself here, we have to let go of all the old crusty ways of seeing ourselves, relating to ourselves, being with ourselves, taking it to the next level. What are we letting go of? Now, this is really, really interesting. And this is why I absolutely love YouTube and why I love online business, is because you have to let go of certain ways of thinking, and you have to let go of thought patterns that you've been habitually thinking sometimes your whole entire life. So for instance, you have thoughts right now that you've been having your whole entire life that you don't even realize you've been having, and you're not going to realize it until you come to completely changing what you're doing with your life, completely changing how you make money in the world. If you've been so used to thinking, I have to work a 9 to 5 job and get an hourly pay, and I have to have 2 weeks of vacation time, and there's a certain set of rules and the ways that we've been taught of how to make money. You have to quickly let go of that way of thinking. You also have to let go of the thinking of what happens if oh no, what if I don't make it? What if this, what if that? There's a certain way of thinking that you must adopt if you're going to succeed in business and or any pursuit that you have in mind. And so in my own life, a perfect example of this was, I had a thought for a really long time leading up to when I started my business in 2009. I had this thought in the background that only rich people, only rich people were rich. And I wasn't one of those rich people. I grew up in Chicago with a teen mom who raised us on ramen noodles and those little Lipton noodle bags. And I saw rich people, and I wasn't one of those. And so up until I started my business and started learning about business, I just thought, there's those people over there that make really good money, and then there's me, and I'm not one of those people. Now, I didn't realize I was not conscious of this thought until I started my business, where I said, okay, fine. I'm going to start doing business. That was literally the only path I saw forward where I could be truly fulfilled and authentically expressed in the world. And I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to make this happen. And then when I started doing this stuff and I started watching my thoughts, I realized I had to get rid of some junk, trash thoughts. They call it stinking thinking in the old timey texts. So I had some old trash thoughts I had to get rid of. How do you let go of old trash thinking? How do you let go of the way you see yourself? How do you let go of these things? These are just the first two levels of the onion, by the way. We have a whole bunch more to cover, but just we're going to take a pit stop here. The way you see yourself, the way you identify with yourself, your identity as it is now, and the way that you think about life, about work, about your work in the world, about your purpose in the world, about the thoughts and experiences that you're going to be sharing in your business, about the products and services you might offer, your thoughts about those things. How do you let go of the ones that are holding you back? The only way is to be aware of what you're currently thinking and choose a different one constantly, over and over and over. This is why I'm going to say the M word. There's two M words I'm going to say here: meditation and mindfulness. Those are really great, powerful tools. You don't have to sit in a meditation. You could totally just be aware of your thoughts throughout the day. And so when you're working, when you sit down to work, when you're sitting down to create your life's work, when you're sitting down to open to wealth, and you realize you have this kind of crunchy feeling, something's holding you back, you realize you have a thought that I'm not good enough, I'm not this enough, I'm not that enough. This is where the power of will comes in, and we have to start consciously choosing better thoughts. Consciously choosing better thoughts. Now, I'd like to share a quick text. We're going to go into some books because I wanted to do a deep dive to really properly give you all the tools that you need today to let go into wealth. And my goal with this session today is truly, I want you hopefully to remember this bit of content that you've seen. I hope that in years from now to come, you might come back to this as, a pivotal kind of video, a pivotal bit of content that you've seen, because I want to offer you some tools from some of the best teachers that I came across over the past 15 years who helped me with tools. So I want to share, first of all, Letting Go by Dr. David Hawkins. I've talked a little bit about this book on the channel, but I want to just, for practical kind of getting the mind and body kind of clear of unsavory thoughts and negative energies so that you can let go into wealth. He says, at that point, it is wise to ask ourselves if it is worth paying the continuing cost of basically holding on to unresolved issues. Now that we have some mechanism by which to handle residuals, they can be uncovered. The residual feelings can be investigated and let go of so that a healing can take place. This brings us to another emotional healing technique that becomes powerful once the major event has passed. That is to place the event in a different context, meaning any events that may have happened to us, we can also let those go too. So for a long time in my adult life, I was holding on to various events that happened throughout my childhood, throughout my teenage years, and even throughout my adulthood, until I came to this beautiful, simple truth of that I needed to let go in order to really achieve the level of financial freedom that I wanted. And so when I realized I was holding on to these grievances from past relationships, from past wrongdoings of just basically my childhood stuff, just making a conscious effort to let go of those things was very powerful. And more or less, the basic tool that I'm offering here that is very simple is a conscious choice to let go of anything that you no longer want. That's not spiritual bypassing. It's the opposite. I want to make sure that I'm emphasizing we're not talking about spiritual bypassing. We're talking about choosing to have responsibility for what's going on in here and in here. And if you don't want something going on in here and in here, if you don't want, for instance, the thought everybody that's rich is somehow corrupt or evil, if you notice that thought is rolling around up here and you're slapping a label on every single person who's got some bit of wealth, that might be something that we can let go of. Or if you have a belief about yourself that you're not a rich person like the one that I had, and you want to let go of that, we can let go of that also. It's taking responsibility for what's going on up here in your heart. Okay, so practical letting go on an energetic level. Let's talk about that. Um, and this is really getting into like the practical nitty gritty of what is letting go. And on a very practical level, letting go, is noticing what's happening and feeling into what's going on in your body, feeling into what's going on in here and not resisting it so much. And this comes up every single time that I'm working with somebody who in a group who has a resistance to putting themselves on YouTube, for instance. So, letting go into wealth, practical kind of tool number 3, if we're counting, is noticing when you're resisting getting on camera and noticing what's going on in here. So, most of the time when you're resisting getting on camera or being on YouTube or doing your life's work, maybe hosting an event or a seminar or a workshop, you're noticing a tightness in your chest. You're noticing that there's fear inside your diaphragm. You're noticing there's a lump in your throat. What a lot of people do is they just say, I get so scared and I don't want to post on YouTube. I get so nervous and I don't want to be in front of a camera. I just get this feeling inside my body and I just hate it and I can't stand it. And my whole point about letting go and going to the next layer of this onion, we started here with your thoughts, your identity with yourself, and now we're going out to the energetic level. The next layer of the onion is when you're feeling something in your body and you try to resist it and you think, okay, I'm just going to shove away this emotion, this feeling, this whatever, this energy. I'm going to try to not feel afraid. I'm going to try to not feel uncomfortable. I'm going to try to not feel not worthy. All that does is it pushes it into a corner and it leaves it sitting there. So it's not as though if you're afraid of posting on YouTube and you just keep not posting on YouTube, that you don't still have those energies in your body. This is very profound if you really let it sink in. But if instead of pushing away the fear of being on YouTube, the fear of getting in front of a camera, the fear of speaking to your audience, instead of feeling the fear and pushing it away and not doing it, if instead you sit in front of the camera and like I'm doing now, there's energy in my body. It's there. Just like everybody you see on YouTube has some energy. We can call it energy. You've labeled it fear, whatever you want to label it. But if we just call it energy and let it be there and not resist it, then it gets transmuted. You're letting go of the resistance. And now it transmutes into some beautiful bit of whatever it is you have in your heart and soul to share. And now, do you see how that's another layer to letting go into wealth? If we stop trying to resist feeling fear, feeling uncertain, feeling inadequate, you know, and if instead of resisting those feelings, we say, oh, here's a feeling of inadequacy. Here's a feeling of I don't feel good enough. I don't feel pretty enough. I don't feel young enough, old enough, thin enough, whatever it is enough. Those are thoughts, by the way, but if you go into the feeling tone of it, I'm feeling very tight in my chest. I'm feeling a block. I'm feeling this. I'm feeling that. Okay, cool. Let's feel into it. Don't resist it. When you feel it, energy and motion, emotion, it's now free to leave, right? So the main thing holding many people back from attaining the level of wealth and financial freedom they want is that they're resisting on so many levels. And it's really simple. When we let go of all the stuff that we've acquired over months, years, decades, lifetimes, when we stop holding on to these things and letting them fester, or just letting them continue to be there and fighting with them and wrestling with them and tiptoeing around them and adjusting our lives to fit these little patterns, when we let go, now the natural order of things is that wealth comes in as a byproduct. How does that work practically? Wealth comes in as a byproduct because we're then expressing ourselves, because we're not fighting, we're not fighting tooth and nail to not feel uncomfortable. We're not fighting tooth and nail to not be seen. We're not trying to hide ourselves because we've got this pattern saying, I can't be seen. If I'm seen, then this or that. If instead we just let go, practically letting go means just yourself feel all the things that are in the body. Let your mind do whatever it's going to do. Don't hang your attention so much on all the negativity, all the constriction. Instead, we can open to feeling what's currently here now. Now we're letting go into wealth. Now we're letting go into prosperity. Let me check in with the chat really quick. All the Course in Miracles and Manifest Immortality. Accepting the fact that you're an alien. Yeah, sure. Yes, absolutely. The let go is an evasion of fraud. It goes with the BS of worthy journey. Yeah, John doesn't like the term let go, but I think you might have missed the first half of the talk. But letting go, I'm not talking. So here's the thing. I'm feeling into what John just said. Letting go in kind of the pop culture, I guess, watered down version of letting go would be sipping a Mai Tai, getting in a hammock and saying, just relax and it'll all come to you. And that's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is there's a very real truth to the fact that if you're resisting, feeling into your blocks, feeling into what's there now, and you continually try to shove it and shove it and shove it, that's what's creating problems. And in today's episode, we're talking about wealth. So in particular, if you're avoiding feeling fear, which is I'm going to say it. It is the common denominator of the thousands of people I've worked with over the past 2 years. Fear is the number one thing holding most people back from doing their life's work, posting to YouTube. Just very real. People don't want to feel fear. They're resisting it. And the only way to overcome that resistance is to let go of trying to not feel afraid. So hopefully that makes sense, John. The only way to let go of fear, to release fear, is to let go of trying to not be afraid. Fear is an illusion. It's doesn't really exist, honestly, truly. It's a response in the body. But if we're sitting here and we're trying to avoid feeling fear, resisting fear, hating fear, avoiding fear, doing everything we can to feel comfy, to not feel fear, fear is in charge. It's running the show. But if we're able to let go of trying to resist fear, avoid it, not feel it, and if we instead just say, come on, fear, take me over if you want. I don't care. Fear can be here. Now it's just flowing through like a natural just current, just flowing through, moving in and out of the body, and it's fine. It's not such a big deal. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so that's wonderful. Gardening is peaceful. Fear doesn't exist, but the bear chasing you in the woods does. Yeah. In that case, fear is definitely a good response to have. Fear is a natural response to have, and it's a natural defense mechanism built in the human system that's very important in cases like that where you need adrenaline to run from the damn bear, for sure. Absolutely. But how can we know what's going on in the moment? My biggest thing is fear and posting on YouTube. I even did your course, but that feeling is very childhood, feeling afraid of all the beliefs from childhood. Yeah, absolutely. So how can we know what's going on in the moment? So this is the most important part about letting go. It's not necessarily about thought. Okay. Now, thoughts play a role because what you're habitually thinking all the time, it's increasing whatever energy is happening in your body. So you're having a thought, maybe you have a thought like I'm not good enough, it's not going to work, whatever the thought may be. And that actually feeds into the body, the chemicals that you experience in your body. You can have a stressful thought and it increases cortisol and all that. But on a very practical level, the more we let go of thinking, and I'm going to say this with my full chest, And there are going to be lots of logical people who don't agree. I'm very cerebral and I was very logical up until I figured this out. The less I'm focused on what I'm thinking and the more I'm feeling into just feeling, now the mind is a servant of my soul um, instead of me being a servant to the mind. So a lot of people get hung up on the thoughts, but if we take a moment right now to just unhook from the thought, notice the room around you. Thoughts are going to be happening, and I'm not saying to not think. We're going to be thinking all the time. But if we don't put so much emphasis on what's happening in your mind and instead go into the body and feeling into the body, and if there's fear there, letting it be there and feeling into it and letting it go. Letting it go, meaning allow the fear to be there and just sit with it and let it be there. Nobody wants to hear this, but who wants to feel fear? But the good news about it is when you're allowing the fear to just pass through, then it passes through. What happens for a lot of people is they're thinking, oh my God, I'm afraid. Oh my God, this YouTube stuff is intimidating. Oh my God, I don't know what to do. Oh my God, what am I going to talk about? Oh my God, this. Oh my God, that. We get caught up in the trap door of the mind, and there's a million trap doors up there. And then we get stuck in the thought loop of trying to figure things out instead of moving into the body and just being here now. Okay. And so very practical, just with me for a moment now. We'll actually, instead of talking about it, I think it's best if I show you what I mean. So in this moment now, just right now, notice whatever you're thinking about. It's fine. Now, could you let yourself just be here as you are now? Whatever's happening, is it allowed to be happening? And if it's allowed to be happening, no matter if the answer to that is yes or no, it doesn't matter. But if you can say yes to that question, if you can answer yes, it's allowed to be happening. I'm allowed and allowing whatever's here now to be happening. So in practical terms, you sit down to start your YouTube video. You notice there's some fear happening. Using the tool that I just gave you, it's a 5-second tool. Noticing there's fear. Noticing there's a tightness in the chest. Let's not think about it. You feel it. Okay, is this allowed to be here? Am I okay with the feeling of fear? Can I let the fear be here? If the answer is yes, do you see how you kind of already beat the game? Energetically also, see what happens for a lot of people is they feel so much fear, and then they're getting stuck in their head and all that. But if instead we move straight to, am I allowed to feel the fear? Cool. Let's dance with it. Come on, fear. It's fine. And then you turn the camera on, you notice there's fear there. You breathe into the fear. And then you're not overthinking it. You're letting go of trying to not feel afraid. You're letting go of trying to fix fear. You're not doing anything at all except for allowing, surrendering, releasing, and letting go. Hopefully that makes sense. If you stop caring, basically another way to put it is if you stop caring so much about being afraid, the fear has nowhere to attach to. That's the best way that I can put it. There's nothing for the fear to Velcro onto if you don't give a damn so much that you're afraid. That applies to all things, by the way. Little fears happening, a lot of fears happening. Who cares? Let's see how much you could even play a game with yourself. Michael Singer said this. I heard Michael Singer say this many years ago. And he said, see how much fear you can, turn up the dial on the fear. Who cares? What's it going to do? And more or less surrender to the fear and stop wanting it to be any different. And then it's almost like the fear is like, oh, wait, I've got nothing more to see here, and there's nothing wrong with you feeling afraid, when you're filming your videos and doing your life's work. I want to really emphasize that too for everybody here. If you're feeling fear about your life's work, that's a really good indication that you give a shit about it, that you care about your work. And so, if you're feeling fear, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm inviting you to the way that I dance with fear is if I'm feeling fear about a project I'm doing, an event that I'm doing, anything at all, I see it as energy moving through my body. I get to use that energy. It didn't start out like this, and I wasn't always like this. I had crippling anxiety for the first half of my life to the point where I couldn't really breathe well. Like, and I didn't even realize that I was so anxious because I was so anxious for so many years. And it was to the point where I couldn't really breathe all that well. And I was asking people, like, do you have a hard time catching your breath? And people would be like, no. So I know exactly what it feels like to have a lot of fear in the body. But like I said, when I stopped caring so much about the fact that I was afraid and I started actually letting the fear be there and saying, cool, I don't care that I'm afraid, it really does dissipate. And your relationship with the fear changes. And then it becomes like an energy source moving through your body. So I hope that's helpful. I've been doing what I call less thinking, more doing, and it's been amazing. The brain usually gets in the way because it hasn't evolved much from survival. So I try to move it to my intuition. Yeah, Anna Lacombe. By the way, everybody, please check out Anna Lacombe's YouTube channel. Anna Lacombe is an excellent teacher, an excellent guide, and I totally agree with Anna that less thinking, more doing is a powerful key. That's kind of what we alluded to earlier. Less thinking, more doing. It's a very powerful key. I'm going to give you guys another book, by the way. Much as I don't like I've said before, I don't love piling books onto you guys because I think sometimes that can be a distraction. But another book that I really love for letting go and releasing is the Sedona Method. The Sedona Method was founded by Lester Levinson and is now headed by Hale Dwoskin. And that's another tool for very simple, very easy, more or less what I just gave you. Basically surrendering, releasing, and allowing. If you have any kind of resistance to emotions and you have a hard time with emotions, the Sedona Method's a really great option. For helping kind of release that. Let's see. People usually mock me for how I speak, and I get embarrassed listening to a recording of my speaking voice. When you say people mock you for how you speak and you get embarrassed, I want to know who's mocking you. let's all gather together and have her back. But I'm kind of kidding. But here's my take on this. Just really quick, I'm going to address this before we continue on with some more tools on how to let go into wealth. Okay, so I've been doing YouTube since 2009, and I've had plenty of people criticize basically every part of me. And my best advice to you for this would be, I can't make you stop caring about the opinions of other people. I really can't. That's not something I can do for you. But I here's my invitation to everybody here who's maybe afraid to be criticized and or is being criticized. I want to invite you to get a mission that's so big that it doesn't matter what anybody else says about you. So here's my question. I'm going to ask everybody here, and I'd love to hear your answers if you feel so compelled. What's worth accomplishing in your life? What would be worth accomplishing in your life that you'd be willing to trade your literal life for? That by the end of your life, you can look back and say, I'm so glad that I traded my life for that purpose. What's, Ansel, what's worth accomplishing? What is the big transformation that you're going to leave in this world in your own unique little facet? It might even just be for you. It might be that you want to heal generational trauma. It might be that you want to master spiritual connection. It might be that you want to master healthy relationships in your life. Whatever is the accomplishment that's your obsession, get get something that's so big and important to you that literally anything anybody says is like little ants, like it would be like a little ant saying it. Your voice sounds weird. It'd be like, who cares? You have a mission to do. That's kind of where I'm at with it. And that's kind of where I started. So as an example, when I first started, I was really passionate about helping women to transform their health. And I took it super seriously because I'd been a trainer and a nutritionist for so long. And I had, women who had just had children, like um, postnatal clients who literally would come to me feeling so out of their body, feeling so much a disconnection and feeling so insecure about going to the gym, and women who have been struggling with obesity their whole lives. And I just had all these clients that I loved so much. And so I was on a mission when I started my channel, when it was health and fitness stuff. I was on a mission to help women to look and feel their absolute most powerful, their most beautiful, their most healthy selves. And so every so often I'd get a negative comment, but I wasn't looking at those. I wasn't caring so much about how people saw me. I was really obsessed about those women who were coming to the channel to get help. And today I'm obsessed with helping the business owners who come to my channel who want to really knock it out of the park with their life's work, who want to really do something incredible. I know there's people here watching and watching the replay who are so obsessed with getting financial freedom, making an impact in the world, creating excellent YouTube videos, creating excellent webinars, and all these things that are going to make the whole world better. And I'm trying to create a movement of basically light workers, way showers. And so if I get somebody up in the comments saying, some stupid comment, or something that maybe even is valid, they don't like the sound of my voice, okay, I'm not for them. So get so obsessed with something so big that the comments don't matter. That's going back to letting go, by the way. And that's a perfect question and a perfect kind of issue. Because if we let go of worrying about what people think about us, that's a whole nother layer to it, right? We have to let go. We have to let go of worrying about what people think about us. That's a huge one. And that was actually on my list of things to talk about, but let's just talk about that. I kind of already did, but letting go of what people think about us, it's huge. And here's the thing. You're not thinking a lot of this stuff consciously. You're not consciously thinking, oh no, I'm really worried about what people are going to think of me. That's not how it works for most of us. For most of us, we have this thing in the background, and it's just this energetic impulse to move ourselves and bend ourselves around being liked, being seen a certain way, being likable, who knows what, not being disliked. And so we play it extra safe. We don't come out with the heat. We're not really talking about our best solutions because we're scared it's going to offend some people, right? So if you didn't give a damn what anybody thought about you or your life's work, what would you be talking about? If you couldn't care less about the opinions of the world around you, if you did not care about if society thought you were acceptable, pretty enough, young enough, smart enough, all of it enough, if you didn't care what anybody around you thought, letting go all the way into just your authority in your own self, what would your content look and sound like? Major, major clue. Major clue. If you didn't care, by the way, of what people thought about you, guarantee, you would be posting to YouTube if you haven't already. So that's a huge clue. If you haven't yet posted to YouTube, you might be worried about what people think about you. My invitation is to let go of that and to start posting to YouTube. Yeah. And so, so we've got Casey Lee. Hey, Casey, it's good to see you too. It's really good to see you, Casey. James Money Reviews says, I have thicker skin. Not all of us grew up gamers and trolls. I get called bald all the time and it's not going to stop me. Yeah. And another thing about it is here, I don't really so much care to to address like lower vibration stuff, but it is kind of part of the whole thing. So when you're posting on the internet, it's just going to happen that when you're shining, when you're doing your life's work, there's a lot of people who aren't doing those things. In fact, most people want to be doing those things, but many people, like I said, they're really scared. And so when they see somebody who's doing their life's work, sometimes it elicits the negativity in them. So it's not even so much anything to take personally. It's really something to be let go of. It's ultimately the best thing that you can do if you get worried about what other people are going to say, it's to let it go. But two, if you do happen to get somebody making some kind of comment, eventually after not too long, you'll come to see that it doesn't really matter. You can just block and delete. That's my best course of action for you too. I'll be on YouTube soon because of you. Thank you. I'm so glad to hear it, Lynette. I'm so glad to hear it. When you do get on YouTube, it would be really cool if you drop a comment, share your channel with everybody, and let us know what you're going to be talking about. Rosarita says, thank you for this conversation. Absolutely, Rosarita. It's so good to be with you today, and it's so good to see you. And I wanted to share just one more book with you guys for today. And it's called Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins. And this book is an incredible treatise on, the title is kind of alluding to it, but power versus force. Power being what happens when you stop forcing things? What happens when you stop resisting things? What happens when you stop avoiding certain feelings? And what happens when you stop trying to force your way through life and instead you start opening to surrendering, releasing, and allowing into all the goodness that life has for you? That's called power. So force is kind of when we're using brute force. Power is when we're using our power. And in this book, he says, to transcend the limitations of the mind, it is necessary to dethrone it from its tyranny as sole arbiter of reality. And that's kind of what Anna and I were talking about a few minutes ago. We can let go of thinking so much or being so obsessed with what's going on in the mind. And we can move into less thinking, more doing, like Anna said. Less focus on what's going on up here, especially nowadays, and more into what's going on in here in the body and the heart. The heart space is really nice too. When we get out of this, especially right now, the collective consciousness is so hectic right now. It is so hither-tither. It is so chaotic. If you're on social media, I really encourage you to be very careful, especially with platforms of short form like Instagram. Even with YouTube, I'm a huge lover of YouTube, but make sure that you're cleaning up your algorithms. Let go. Another thing to let go of anything that brings you down, anything that gets you into lower vibrations, anything that doesn't feel really good. Right now, it's a tender time. Right now, it's a chaotic time. Right now, there's so much bad news out there. And so I'm not saying to check out, like stay checked in and know what's going on, but also try to make sure that you're paying attention to, don't get lost in it. Don't get swept away in negativity. Don't get swept away in thought matter, right? That's very, very important. Okay, everybody. So that's what I wanted to share today. I also wanted to just let everybody know I still have the YouTube Profits Program still open. The price is probably going to be going up relatively soon. So if you'd like to join us before 2026, that would be a good time to do so. And that's at brennaturner.com/money. One of the reasons that I love teaching about YouTube, by the way, and business is because you have to, once again, you have to let go. There's nothing that I've experienced in my life that's more powerful catalyst for releasing, surrender, letting go, and stepping into a whole new version of who and what I am continually. It never ends than doing an online business. Since 2009 up until now, you can check out some of my oldest videos. You can see that I'm constantly changing. And I'm the same. So I'm the same, but I'm also different because it requires you to just continually let go and let go and let go. So that's why I'm really passionate about this stuff. Um, that's why specifically why YouTube just happened to be one of the things that I started teaching about this year. And so that's brendaturner.com/money. Um, Tease says, thanks for the encouragement. I just had a person discourage me saying YouTube is too difficult. Funny coming from someone who has a channel made me more determined. Let me address this comment. I was just signing off, but let's just stay with this because YouTube is not too difficult. I mean, okay, here's the truth. Let's talk about it. Is YouTube difficult? I will tell you that YouTube is next to impossible if you don't love what you do. If you don't love what you're talking about, if you're not really passionate about something, if you don't know what you're talking about, YouTube's very difficult. It's very difficult for those business owners who are just basically trying to make a quick buck. There's a lot of those people out there. A lot of them. I've seen them come and go over the past 15 years. They think they're going to start a YouTube channel and it's just going to be burping out money for them. YouTube is impossible for that kind of business owner. But YouTube is relatively easy so long as you understand the key components of what makes a good YouTube channel. Does it require work and effort? Yes. And if you've watched any of my other videos, tease, you know that I'm into scripting. I'm a huge fan of scripting. I have my unscripting template, by the way, that's free at brendaturner.com/GIFTS gifts. So get my unscripting template, fill it out. And you can even see on my unscripting template video, you can see on my unscripting video that there are comments under that video that say and you can go to their actual channel and see. There's comments that say, I just use your unscripting template. It's the first time I ever got over 100 views. It's changed the way people are watching my videos. It's really helpful. So I'm into scripting. That does require some effort. You do have to practice your videos, reciting your videos. That does require some effort. Almost every video you've seen on my channel, I recite my videos. That requires some effort. I'm also super passionate about my videos. So anytime you see me post a video, it's because I'm obsessed with what I'm talking about. That's something that requires some effort. So there's a lot of people getting on YouTube, not doing any of those things, and it doesn't work. But if you do those things, you'll already be way ahead of the bell curve, honestly. And if you do those things, you'll be in like the top 1% of YouTubers. And it's almost inevitable that your channel gets traction so long as you're coming with a really good premise, really solid solutions. I talk a lot about this in the YouTube Profits program. There's also a community feature in there just in case you want to dive deeper. But YouTube is not too difficult. It's not any more difficult than anything that's worth doing. And any business is going to be require a little bit of effort. I think YouTube is just amazing though. Follow your gut instinct. I agree. I love YouTube Profits, not just the steps you need to craft your brand and offers, but YouTube videos, but the community is truly special. Thanks, Anna. And Anna's not a plant, I swear. Anna is just an amazing student inside the YouTube Profits community. If you guys want to see what kind of like results you can get from the YouTube Profits, go to Anna's channel, because Anna just started her channel a few months ago, and you could just see, you can see like how great that she's just really getting it. So thanks, Anna. That's really sweet. I have made 200K on AdSense. If I had access to your knowledge, it would be 2 million. Facts. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks so much. And let's talk about AdSense really quick. That's actually a nice little. So everybody, if I don't care so much about AdSense, it's just not my model. It hasn't been since 2009 because I've always leaned into products and services. But Jamie, everybody take a look. If you're listening instead of watching, just take a look at the screen. I just popped Jamie up on the screen. Jamie, thank you for sharing. The AdSense revenue is nice. I'm not going to lie. It's always nice that when you open up your YouTube, once you get monetized, I've been monetized for a long time now. It's not a huge source of revenue for me, but there are plenty of people that it is. And it's always nice to get paid something. So if you're on Instagram, sweating away on Instagram, and you're not getting any revenue, it's time to let that go as well. Talking about letting go into wealth, there's so many people on the internet doing things the hard way, being in the content sweatshop, posting tons of reels every day, thinking they have to do things a certain way because they've seen people doing it on Instagram, when really, even if you don't necessarily have something to sell on YouTube yet, if you get on YouTube and you get some AdSense going, that's still some really good, it can be a really great profit driver. Thank you, Jamie, so much. I will check out the scripting template I recorded recently and rambled and watched it. It was not impressive. Yeah. And as you continue to practice, you will get better, I promise, but it definitely helps if you recite your videos. Being obsessed isn't a problem for me. Well, that's good to hear. I want to study architecture, my childhood dream, but it requires time, money, and effort. I also want financial freedom through an online business, yet I don't know how to start and I feel lost. Okay, so I don't typically like to just I don't like to do too much hyper specific coaching on these kind of live sessions, but this is probably helpful for at least a couple people who are feeling like they don't yet know how to start and feel lost, because this is going back to what I'm talking about today and letting go into wealth. And so I can see from the question, which thank you for the question and thank you for the vulnerability. I can see from the question, like I was saying before, there's a lot of thought matter happening here, a lot of overthinking. And there's also a lot of beliefs tangled up in this question. And this is very common. So you might come to an online business or wanting to start an online business, and you're having no idea where you should start or what you could possibly do to monetize. My first bit of advice here would be, like I was saying before, letting go. And what we can let go of here is the overthinking habit. So for everybody who's watching this, if you're in the same shoes as For Life Shoe, we can take a quick 30-minute to maybe even 3-hour brainstorm where you're going to write down as many ideas as you can for how can you start making money from what you love. We did this in a prior live, but just to summarize for you, you write two columns on a piece of paper. On the one column is what you're really passionate about. So I'll put P for passionate. And then on the other side, it's what solutions, what solutions you have to offer. This is something I learned from John Patrick Morgan, great life coach. But your passions might be architecture, nature, accounting. I'm not sure what your passions are, but you just make a list of your passions. Now, realistically, which of these will be something that you can offer solutions to other people? And those are kind of your monetization strategies. Those are your little side hustles if you want to do a side hustle. Because it sounds like you're more leaning into architecture as a life thing instead of, as a business. And so that's where I would start, making a list and then start taking action. Just start taking action. Less thinking, more doing, like Anna was saying, less thinking, more doing, and start taking action. Start believing, this is a big one. Let go of the belief that it's hard and start adopting the belief that this is actually pretty damn easy, because it really is. We're moving our mouth, we're typing on a computer, and we're putting solutions out into the world. We do have to work, but it's not any harder than any job. You know what I mean? I average 3K per million views. It's peanuts. I average 3K per million views. Well, thanks for sharing your numbers. But my whole what we talk about in the YouTube Profits program is a part of what the YouTube Profits program is about is how to monetize your YouTube channel in a way that's sustainable and highly profitable. And that's why my whole MO from the time that I started is I always have my own products and services. I always have some kind of product or service that I'm selling of my own accord. So my own nutrition programs, because I was a certified trainer and nutritionist, or I had a whole meditation and yoga set of products and courses and programs. And now I'm doing business training. And these are all things I'm intimately familiar with. So that would be my guidance, is start selling your own products and services. I think that's a really smart move. Got a WordPress course now. Cool. That's great. That's great. I do recommend WordPress as well. Okay, everybody. I saw that we're almost up to an hour. So thank you so much for joining me today. One last time, brendaturner.com/profits for the YouTube Profits program. That's my all-encompassing course to help you to build a YouTube channel that you love and make great money doing what you love, so that you can let go into more wealth. I'll see you guys in my next either live video or my live stream or my next proper upload. Okay, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.